Yeah, that's it. You said everything. And I guess when we look back through time, sports has kind of always been that that gladiator type mentality. You go to the boxing ring to see somebody beat somebody to death. You go,
And
you
we are
go to,
proud.
yeah, you go to a car race. Watch cars go around and around in a circle, and what they talk about is the wreck. Or what they're waiting for is a wreck or a decent maneuver or something crazy. I mean, they won't say it, but that's what gets played out. And when you see things like, and in a lot of ways, you talk about role modeling. A lot of pro athletes don't like to talk about being role models or, I remember, what was it? Who was that? Charles Barkley, who so famously said, "I ain't no role model" or something like that. But the fact of the matter is that you are.
There you are.
Whether you want to be or not, that it comes with the territory. And like I said, most of the times when I see these things, it's in pro games. And then here we have, college games now emulating some of the stuff that we see in the pro games. This is the way you handle a blow to your ego, or this is the way that you handle whatever. Or could it be some kind? Does it go to a larger question? Is there anything? I remember some time ago they were talking about the problems that the football players, the pro ball players were having with concussions and things like that. And then before then they were talking about all of these performance enhancing steroids or whatever else and things, and whatever kind of effects these things had on people. Now I don't know if that's what's going on here, but and granted, we're looking at this and we're blowing this up, and this is just kind of one game where we've seen this, so crazily, and maybe that's why it's getting the coverage it is, because it is so strange to see that at this level.
It was televised.
Right.
I would say though, and the chief asked me to come on to talk about what we do with young people, and I will tell both of you, I do catch a whole lot of flack because if somebody is sent to me, I don't care what string they play on the football field. I call the coach myself and tell the coach he's not coming back anytime soon. And you can call the governor's office if you want to. Mm-hmm. But until he learns that he has to comply and conform to society, he's not going to play ball.
Well, that's a great point, Phil. And you know what I wanted to ask you is along those lines. Number one is, do you find in your mentoring program, when you get the moms group together, that there is a difference in your approach to your mentoring techniques with athletes and other students, or do you have sort of a one-size-fits-all program for them, or do you find that sometimes the athletes may have a different attitude, sort of that I guess that I am holier than thou type thing going on, and you sort of have to take a different approach? And then, okay, go ahead.
So I would say, first of all, when you're mentoring juveniles, youth, there is no one size fits all. They're all individuals.
Sure.
I will tell you that the athletes come in and they come through the door with that mentality of, I'm special.
Okay.
They do. And we kind of research these guys and ladies before they come in. And we do have to pull them aside. We got to let them know. Let me tell you this is not school. Mm-hmm. And in here, you'll be here till you're 21 years old. The whole game will change by the time you get out of here if you don't start getting it right. I'm not the coach. And so it's time to calm yourself down. But Chief, understand this. Mm-hmm. We have to deal with that street brawl the same way, because you got guys that come in that have that street cred. They're just like athletes.
Sure.
Okay, and they come through the door, I'm big and I'm better than anybody else in here, until you show them that plate glass window. Let them know you go through. But my point is this, yes, you do have to deal with them differently from that perspective. Mm-hmm. Now, I've seen their grades get better. I've seen their attitudes change. I've had parents who tell me, the same parent who was aggravated with me and wanted to take me to the governor's office and my son is a star player and you're ruining his career and his chances for a scholarship. I've had those same parents say to me after 3 or 4 months, my son is a better person.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so when I say to you, your audience, this is like a learned condition that we're dealing with. And it's not helping these children.
Mm-hmm.
It's not helping them. So you do have to put them in their place. Now, I blame the coaches to some degree. These parents depend on these coaches to keep their children well balanced. But that's not what coaches do. I've had coaches come to my center wanting to tell me what I was and was not going to do.
Well, that was my next question to you, Phil. When you have that conversation with the coach, when you say, little Mike I know he's your star point guard, but he's here now. He's been sent here because of disruptive activities and what have you. What is the reaction that you get from the coach? Do you get some coaches that want to pull your face off, and do you get some coaches that say, let's work through this together, Mr. Lee? What do you get when you normally have that conversation, Phil?
Pull your face off.
Coaches try, when they come out of that building, out of that arena. You see, coaches are mortgage holders, fathers, mothers, whatever. So when they come in, they try to come in with that attitude. I'm a father, but that don't last but about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they realize, I don't really care who you are,
mm-hmm.
then what comes out of them is, and you have to understand, these coaches, they have to win to keep their jobs, to make their money, especially these college coaches.
Sure.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay, for them, this comes down to, I got my mortgage to pay. You can't take my star player out of the game. But then I have to explain to the coach, this is not your school. And I'm not responsible for your mortgage. And if you cared, you should have been caring all the time. And that's a conversation I have with them more often than not. When I have to explain to them, you should have been caring about this young man from day one and everything that he does. Now you want to come in here with these great concerns, and you're not going to convince me that you had no idea of the things he was doing.
Wow.
So you have to bring the coaches down to earth and let them get both of their feet on the ground, because the fact is this, you have to tell them some of the things you tell the players. Don't come in here with the wrong attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really want to hear it because, see, in the schools, the coaches are like stars.
Right.
You know, they are just like the ball players. If you really want to start peeling this onion back, you'll see where the core is. These coaches are everything and all of, because the schools depend on them to make money.
Well, you know, Phil, and I'm looking at, before we had our conversation this evening, I looked at, and I'm looking at now, I can pull up at least a dozen videos on YouTube and Twitter and all these other places. And they've got videos of high school basketball fights, high school football fights, large brawls at football games. They've got fights here at Little League baseball games. And some of these not only involve the athletes, but they involve the parents as well. And so, and I guess, Phil, the one thing that I want to know from you, because you've been doing this a long time, and I guess I was kind of remiss in mentioning that, particularly when I was working with youth, when I was in my former capacity as a deputy police chief, I remember some of the cases were referred to you so that in a diversionary mode. And so you've been doing this for a long time, and I know that you had the support of the court system and the schools and the like. So with that perspective in mind, Phil, what do you find is the biggest cause of some of that type of behavior, particularly from athletes? When you've dug deep and had your screening and some of your lessons, What do you find, Phil, is like the biggest cause, if there is one, or what do you find are the top three, if there's not just one glaring one?
I think the one that I find too often that's disturbing is there are just simply too many of our parents, mothers and fathers, who push their son to become an NFL player.
Okay.
I've seen these parents at little league games.
Mm-hmm.
You would think their son is in the stadium, in Redskin Stadium somewhere. They push these children constantly. They take them to practice 3 and 4 days a week. They keep them out until 8, 9 o'clock at night. What disturbs me is I see the emphasis on sports, but and Chief, you've heard this many times. You go to a community football game, you can't find a parking space anywhere.
That's true.
But now go to a PTA meeting where that same boy who plays tight end is failing. Go to his school and wait to see if his father comes in there to find out what's wrong with him academically. It's not going to happen. And what we're seeing is that this child grows up knowing the thing that's most important to my father, my mother, is that I am extremely super and totally successful playing ball. That's what's important about parent. Now, understand the parables here. There's some of us, and I've talked just 2 seconds about myself. My youngest son is 6'8".
Mm-hmm.
My oldest one is like 6'7". They will tell you if you ask them, no, man, they never talked to us about playing no ball. He stayed on our back about grades.
Sure.
Now, I'm not trying to put myself up there, but what I'm telling you, ask me, what do I see the biggest problem being?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of these parents pushing their children towards academia, they push them towards a dream.
Right.
Let me give you this.
Right.
I recall a case when I asked one young man, if you are not, and he was like a junior in high school, I asked him, if you don't get a scholarship, if you graduate and can't go on to college, what are you going to do? He said to me, I'm going to become a security guard.
Wow.
Do you understand the problem here?
Yeah.
There's nothing in his family, nothing his parents have pushed him towards except that sport.
Sports, yep.
So if you want to talk about the parenting part there, yes, it is my biggest problem. I've had, I guess about 3 months ago, we had one of Flowers High School's, I shouldn't mention high school, star football players. This boy stole a car, broke into school. What got me, and let me tell you why the immaturity and the things that they could do. He plays football. He broke into a school at midnight on a Sunday night.
Wow.
Went to the gym, turned the lights on, and started playing basketball.
Wow.
Now, none of this makes any sense to me, but the problem was this. He thought because he was the athlete, nobody in the school was going to do anything to him. He really did not understand when the police showed up and let that dog go. He could not understand why they did that. But his father, his father sat in front of me and said, well, he does go to the school. He plays ball for me. At some point, I have to be real careful, and my staff has to sometimes control me. Okay?
Okay.
But what I realized was, you're the stupid one.
Sure.
You have led this boy down the wrong path. This is your son you've done this to. You think that society, the judge don't care nothing about how well he plays ball? Ask Dexter Manley.
Well, that's true.
So when you ask me what perturbs me the most, Our people think that the body is better than the brain. We teach our children to use their might instead of their brain. We teach them that your body is everything.